Chicago is famous for changing the world's skyline, but some of the city's most important buildings don't shout for attention, they whisper. On South Michigan Avenue, just steps from Millennium Park, stands a trio of historic buildings that help shape modern architecture as we know it. They're called the Gage Buildings, and together they tell a story of innovation, artistry, and a city inventing itself. I'm Renee, and this is Chicago, one story at a time. The Gage Buildings were constructed between 1890 and 1899 during one of the most transformative periods in Chicago's history. This stretch of Michigan Avenue was emerging as a premier commercial corridor. These three neighboring buildings were built for major millinery companies, businesses specializing in hats and women's fashion, including Gage Brothers and Company, Edson Keith and Company, and Theodore Asher and Company. Individually, they were successful commercial buildings, but together they became something more, a living example of how architecture was evolving at the turn of the 20th century. This was the era of the Chicago School of Architecture. Architects were experimenting with steel frame construction, allowing buildings to rise higher and feature larger windows. Instead of heavy stone walls and ornate European decoration, these new buildings emphasized light, function, and honesty in structure. One of the most important features of the Gage Buildings is their use of Chicago-style windows. These windows typically feature a large fixed central pane flanked by narrower, operable side windows. This design allowed for maximum natural light while still providing ventilation, a crucial innovation at a time before widespread electric lighting and air conditioning. For buildings like these, which house offices, showrooms, and manufacturing, light wasn't just a luxury, it was essential. Workers needed daylight to read, write, and display products, and businesses wanted interiors that felt open and inviting rather than dark and cramped. The steel frame construction made these large windows possible. Walls no longer had to bear the building's weight, allowing architects to open up facades and flood interiors with light. The two southern buildings in the group reflect this philosophy clearly. Clean lines, repeating windows, and practical, meant to serve business needs efficiently. At 18 South Michigan Avenue stands the Gage Brothers Building, the most visually striking of the three. While the building structure was designed by Halliburton and Rouge, its elaborate terracotta facade was created by one of the most influential architects in American history, Louis Sullivan. Sullivan believed that form should follow function, but he also believed buildings deserved beauty. His ornamentation wasn't random. It's organic, rhythmic, and deeply intentional, inspired by nature, geometry, and movement. The facade seems to grow upward, setting it apart from its neighbors. Rather than Chicago windows, Sullivan utilized bays that featured prism glass at the top to maximize the amount of light illuminating the interior. The facades of these buildings demonstrate two different approaches to the Chicago School, a design movement that led to the creation of modern commercial architecture. The buildings by Halliburton and Rouge are straightforward, while the facade designed by Sullivan exemplifies his more expressive approach. Originally built as an 8-story building, the Sullivan facade was expanded in 1902 by adding 4 additional floors. Rather than discard the terracotta ornament, workers carefully removed and reinstalled the pieces higher on the building, preserving Sullivan's artistry. Over time, some street-level details were altered, but restoration efforts have preserved the building's character, maintaining its standout piece of Chicago history. The Gage Buildings aren't just visually striking. They're officially recognized for their historical and architectural importance. In 1985, they were added to the National Register of Historic Places and in 1996, they were designated Chicago landmarks. Together, they also contribute to the historic Michigan Boulevard District, highlighting some of the Chicago's most influential early commercial architecture. Today, the Gage Buildings continue to thrive as part of Chicago's architectural landscape. The Sullivan Design building at 18 South Michigan stands as a beautifully preserved landmark, showcasing its iconic terracotta ornamentation while housing offices and retail spaces. Next door, 24 South Michigan, is home to the popular Gage Restaurant, a modern tribute to the Gage Group that welcomes diners every day. And the third building, 30 South Michigan, remains a functional example of the Chicago school style, serving offices and retail with its clean, practical design. Together, these three buildings show how history and modern life can coexist, a living reminder of Chicago's innovative spirit.